Just as we are about to start, I'd love to know who's in the room. Please feel free to introduce yourself into the chat. So like your name, the country that you're coming from. It'd be nice to connect with you in this virtual Zoom room. Awesome, I now have sharing access. Share sound there. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, give me 1 second, because I have so many tabs open, it's actually scary. Cool. Is Rebecca in the chat now?
She hasn't arrived.
Okay. We'll just give Rebecca a few minutes, but in the meantime, is it possible if everyone could introduce themselves into the Zoom chat? I'd love to know where you're from. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for the introduction. And thanks for the compliments for the Matrix look. For those that are watching on YouTube, I was sharing before that I've lost my glasses, so I have to use my prescribed ones because I'm short-sighted. I will actually introduce myself in a moment and also slow down because I'm speaking too fast. My name is Hilary. I'm part of Mozilla Foundation as the community manager. At the moment, people are introducing themselves on the Zoom chat. So we have some people that are coming from Nigeria, some people coming from Zimbabwe. Brighton, is it okay if you could introduce yourself as well?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Brighton Musaru. I'm joining in from Mombasa in Kenya. It's sunny and hot. I am part of the Kiswahili Common Voice team as a community engagement fellow.
Awesome, thank you. If you haven't, please do share and introduce yourself into the chat. I'd love to know how diverse this, like, as in like from the African continent, people are. So we've got someone else that's introduced himself. So they're from Tanzania and the US. I'm also based in the UK. I realized I didn't say that in my introduction. My family are from Kenya. Yeah, cool. Just gonna quickly. Oh, okay. I just realized something. We've had a bit of a joining issue with one of our two panelists.
Yeah, they tell me they're in different Zoom, so I don't understand.
Yeah. I might invite them to this one. Give me 1 second. Copy invite link. That's strange. Okay, is Rebecca and Joan in the room now? I can't see Brighton because I only have Slack. If you could be my eyes, that'd be amazing.
I'm here.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. Okay, in the meantime, just because of time, I think what we'll do, I'll do a bit of an introduction and explain a bit about the project, but also create a space for like participation, if everyone's cool with that. So if you feel confident when we ask people to participate, please please participate via the Zoom chat. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Cool. So firstly, thank you so much for coming to the session today on building open voice data corpuses for underrepresented languages. We're going to talk about, sorry, I'm going to start again if that's okay, because I'm receiving two informations. Amina, I'm going to double check. This is definitely the room for building open voice data corpuses for underrepresented languages, because there's two different chats and half of our panel are not here.
Okay, I thought a special link was sent for panelists.
Yeah, it was sent by email and Rebecca shared it with us, but for some reason, two of us are here, then the other two are somewhere else. But I can't see them in the panel bit either. Give me one.
What are their names?
Rebecca, Ryan, I forgot Rebecca's surname. It's
Rebecca and John.
Mm-hmm.
They are not on the attendees.
So is there a different Zoom call?
No.
Okay.
Because wait, from what I've seen, so I'm talking to Rebecca on Slack, and basically they're in another room where Joanne is already presenting. So yeah, I'm very confused. Give me 1 second, because like basically we've designed this presentation so like all four of us are involved, and it doesn't work without all four of us.
Sorry, we're about to share the link with Rebecca. She will join you soon.
Okay, cool.
Hilary, if you're speaking, you're muted.
So sorry, I was saying that I do have a playlist just as before we I can play in the meantime as we wait, but I just realized because we're using YouTube licenses, so I'm not going to do that. Thanks everyone for your patience, by the way, regarding this, and so sorry about the issues. Yeah. Rebecca, can you hear us? I think you just joined.
Rebecca just joined.
Yes, I can hear.
Rebecca, where were you?
And Joan's here as well, right? I don't know if, have you sent her the link as well? You're on mute, Rebecca, sorry.
Hello, Rebecca.
Hello. Let me get her connected on this one.
So I'm just curious, where were you?
Are we waiting for someone else?
Just one more person.
Okay.
And I think Rebecca's sending the link to them. Yeah.
Okay.
I've sent the link, but I think because she's talking, she's probably not ready. So I think we can start while we try how to reach out to her so that she can get to this particular Zoom room.
Okay, cool. Is Brighton okay with doing that? And I can share the slides if that's okay, Rebecca.
Yeah, I can try reach out to her.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you. Rebecca, when you're ready.
Okay, I think she's joining in, and then I'll just start the whole introduction afresh. Sorry, everyone, for the mishap. I think I used the wrong link, and so is my colleague. So that's why we're late to the session. But my name is Rebecca Raktim, and I'm a Common Voice Kiswahili Fellow for the Mozilla Common Voice Project. I work around gender and diversity. So today, the session that we're running is called Building Open Voice Data Corpus for Underrepresented Languages. And the main aim of this session is to build a language and technology community with the aim of promoting natural language processing of African languages so that we can be able to leverage the benefits that come with voice technology. So part of this is understanding the project that's been run by Mozilla known as Common Voice. That's a project which is teaching machines how humans speak. And so today we're going to take you through the process of how we have been able to build a data set for voice technology, the process from how we think around gender, how we create use cases, how you can participate and also contribute to this process. As we know that we have a lot of underrepresentation of languages, especially on the internet. And as it's important to build digital inclusion, it's important to ensure that we have our languages represented on the internet. We have our languages represented on different digital platforms so that we can ensure everyone is included in the process. So in this session today, joining me is Hilary Juma. Hilary Juma is a Common Voice community manager. And then she will also be joined by Brighton Masaru. Brighton Masaru is a community engagement fellow at Mozilla who works around community engagement for this project. And then we'll also be joined by Joanne, who is coming shortly. She is a community champion at the Common Voice project, but she's also one of the founders of Pani Techno Girls. So we'll be joined by her shortly. I think she's just joined in. So I welcome you all to this session. Please feel free to ask any questions and input on the chat as we continue. So I'll now pass it on to Hilary to lead through the first part of the session. Thank you, Hilary. Back to you.
Cool. Thank you so much for the introduction, Rebecca. So for this next bit, we're going to do an icebreaker just to share and honor the experiences of everyone that's participating in the session today. So I'd love you to share your input to this question on the Zoom chat. So how much space is your language taking up online? So this question focuses on both in terms of platforms and experiences of the languages that you use in the day-to-day and how does that make you feel and etc. So I'd love for people to share their thoughts. I'll give everyone a minute or so just to write down, and then I'll read them out. I won't say people's names just for like privacy, but I will read out what they have shared, if that's okay. Cool. If it helps regarding like responding to this question, you can say a number in terms of the size you think like your language takes online. You could say like you can highlight like a platform that you may use, for example. So someone has shared, for example, Yoruba is taking up to 10%. Anyone else like to share? My language is quite popular, so I would say around 40%. It would be nice if you can also add the language, if that's cool for the person that just shared that. Someone said no meaningful space, so around 3%, and this is the language of Shona. Someone also shared that English is a lot, Kiswahili not as much. Very frustrating, the poor quality of machine translations make up a large share of Kiswahili results on Google. So anyone else, just as we close for this icebreaker question, I'll give you a moment to share in the chat. So thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts, the question of how much space is your language taking up online. And from what has been shared, and to summarize the responses, it seems that like the largest people shared was like 10% and then 3%. But when we consider that like Africa's population is more than 10% of the world, it's quite sad that like the number and the quality of experience that our languages are having online are not reflective of like the size and influence of Africa to the world. So earlier this year, the first ever State of Interlanguages report, which is quite unique, by Whose Knowledge, Oxford Institute and Internet Society of India, published some research about the experiences of languages online. In that analysis, they provided an analysis of languages that are available on different platforms, such as messaging, learning, and social media. Knowledge platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp. They found that more than 90% of Africans need to switch to a secondary language in order to use a platform for which many will mean a European colonial language. And as we sit with that statistic, it highlights that like for many of us that we can't be ourselves fully because we are having to rely on things that are not designed for our languages and experiences. Increasingly, as we engage in the online world, voice is becoming an interface in which we interact with each other. So from dictation software, so people use to dictate like documentation, to automatic speech recognition for subtitles on movies. On my phone, I have access to this technology, but for so many people around the world, they can't do this without switching to majority language. The theme of the DRIF this year is towards a digitally inclusive and rights respecting Africa. It's important that we have the tools and spaces we can use to support Africans in accessing technology online, from screen readers for those that have disabilities, to access text, to speech technology, to conversational chatbots that help us to access vital information. So what is Common Voice? As Rebecca explained, Common Voice is a project to build a multilingual open source data set that can be used to train voice recognition models. The current Common Voice dataset has over 91 plus languages, including Kinyarwanda and Italian, to name a few. As a community manager, my role is to provide support to the Common Voice community by advocating for the communities we have and ensuring community engagement is open to everyone. Common Voice is more than just a platform. It involves an ecosystem of people invested in the creation of language tools for text-to-speech applications to speech-to-text, from Common Voice language reps, contributors, to dataset users. So how did Common Voice come about? So Common Voice was launched in June 2017 with the aim of wanting to build a publicly open, available data set of labeled audio of short sentences that anyone can use and download from the website. Common Voice first started with English, then became multilingual in 2018, which included languages such as German, Irish, and Kinyarwanda and Mongolian. In 2018, we collaborated with partners and communities to create speech corpuses for Kinyarwanda, for local technologists in Rwanda to develop open source voice technologies in their own language. Today, in 2020, Common Voice transitioned is in the Mozilla Foundation, and today the Common Voice dataset represents the world's largest multilingual public domain voice dataset with more than like 13, I think it's even 15 hours of voice data across the languages that are spoken around the world. Cool. So to give an example, I mentioned about like how Kinyarwanda are using the Common Voice dataset. So approximately there are 12 million people that speak Kinyarwanda. In 2019, Mozilla and GIZ co-hosted an ideation hackathon in Kigali to create a data corpus for Kinyarwanda and to lay the foundation for local recognition applications. The hackathon gave away to Digital Umuganda, a Rwanda startup. The efforts collected over 1,700 hours of Kinyarwanda voice data and arranged a diverse set of 844 contributors. They're not only building a data set, working on products and services that are locally relevant and that relate to their mission, which is a mission to democratize access to information and services. In September last year, Mbaza was launched. So Mbaza is a chatbot that provides timely and accurate information about the pandemic in Kinyarwanda, French, and English languages. Mbaza is based out of the Rwanda Biomedical Center, and it's a collaboration between Common Voice, Digital Umuganda, Royal Information Society of in Uganda, and the German Development Corporation. To quote the community lead for Kinyarwanda, Mbaza is a great example of more inclusive voice technology can achieve by building a voice data set using Kinyarwanda language.
Sorry to interrupt you, Hilary. Your slides is too large. We can't really, can you zoom it in a bit?
Zoom in what sense?
It's too large.
I don't know how to do that because I'm using Google Slides. When you mean too large, as in like you can't see the full thing?
It's too wide. It's all over the place.
That's so strange. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to quickly pause, stop sharing, and then I'll share on my laptop because I'm using a second monitor.
Okay, some people said it's okay. I don't know, some said it's, so you can just do your best and continue.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to continue if that's okay, because I'm gonna hand over to my my colleagues in a second. You might see yourself, wait, let me, and then. Okay, cool. So just before I hand over to my colleagues in a moment, so languages are more than just data for technology. They provide us a way for communicating intergenerationally. Languages carry cultural significance and impact our identity. It's vital that we build community with dignity by listening and engaging with our contributors. and how are we approaching community building? So our contributors are volunteers, so it's important that we have support. So one of the ways in which I provide support is by responding to questions and answers from contributors on the community platforms that we have, raise and highlight bug issues to our engineering team, onboarding people into our community when they request their language to participate in the project. But also like highlighting materials and resources and documentation that can help them, and having one-to-one conversations about ideas and challenges that they experience. I wanted to highlight quickly 2 programs that I've created to support the community like across the languages. So firstly, last year we launched the Common Voice Language Reps as an avenue for Common Voice contributors to closely engage with the Common Voice project team via monthly engagements. Our discussions range from evaluating our proposal for award and recognition to platform changes on including variants and accents on the platform. This forum really helped to connect language communities, and it gave increased visibility to product decisions and discussions. And then another thing that we've been doing recently is, as part of our reward and recognition and enablement work, is creating enablement sessions that highlight the ways in which people can build community. So for example, through like the creation of community events. Our next one is on community funding, and then a few of the other ones afterwards focusing on breaking the bias in voice recognition and mobilizing for low resource languages. Just before I pass on to Joan, one thing to highlight that as to some of the barriers and things that people may face regarding like localizing any computational technology is highlighted through the work of Don Osborne and Donald Zhang Osborne. So in the book, African Languages in Digital Age, Challenges and Opportunities for Indigenous Languages, they highlight this PLEATS model as a way to think about the different factors that impact how a language goes about like localizing any computational technology. So like economics, language, politics, social, cultural, and education. And throughout this presentation, you'll be seeing how like we've had to, like, especially with the Kiswahili community work, like had to navigate the colonial legacies of Kiswahili to like encouraging the inclusion of women in technology. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Joan. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Hilary. And I'm Joanne Nabusoba from Kenya, and I'm a co-founder of Pwani Techno Girls. We are a community organization that aim at empowering young women. We really majorly focus on women to empower them to acquire technological skills so that they can sustain themselves. And I really got interested to this opportunity of being a Mozilla Common Voice Kiswahili champion, because you find that women in technology in Kenya is very low. The representation of women in technology in Kenya is very low. Yeah, you find that the number of women who pursue technology as a course, or the number of women who take technology or even STEM courses is very low. So when I saw that there is a Mozilla Common Voice whereby people can be able to contribute to the voice, as well as being able to participate in the contribution for machine learning, I thought that this is a prime opportunity for women's voice to also be included. Now, when I applied for this and we started introducing this project to the community, we were able to start by introducing to the community after the sessions, because we conduct sessions in 6 counties remotely and some physically here at Mombasa, where we are located. And we found that it became very helpful to do some voice contribution after the session. And we thought that since people are familiar now with the aim of Common Voice, as well as with how impactful this project will be, we started now focusing on it individually, like creating a sessions weekly just for Common Voice. So I made sure that I mobilized communities from the 6 counties remotely. We started by doing voice contributions remotely. So we started by just having the normal voice contribution, that is voice contributing and validating through in the Mozilla system. So at least after a while, people are very familiar with Common Voice, the website itself, as well as making sure that they sign up so that they know, for example, the statistics of the voices that they've contributed, and just to be familiar with the platform as well. And because we are a community of developers, people are able to really relate a lot because of its aim of making sure that these voices are used for the machine learning and also representation of Kiswahili as a language in the voice, in the AI. So we started by contributing voices in the sessions. We started by validating voices as well. And we started, we thought of having a physical session to just make sure that people who are in Mombasa can be able to join, as well as those who are in other counties can be able to join virtually, because it was not possible for us to be walking to all these other counties. So we created a hybrid session, like a main hybrid session, whereby people can come and contribute sentences, because we wanted to start by contributing sentences for the first time in the community. So to make the sessions as exciting as possible, we made sure that we brainstormed as a group to make sure that we understand what people are really interested in their lives. Wanted to know if someone is interested in, let's say, sports or food, someone is interested in general life, day-to-day life. We're able to just understand that first and also give examples of sentences that people can start contributing. So during the session, we started contributing sentences, adding as many sentences as possible, and also moving around the room and also virtually to make sure that we discuss how the types of sentences that people have contributed. Some were funny. It was a super exciting event. And we were able to contribute as many sentences as possible as Pwani Techno Girls community reaching out to other counties in Kenya. And let me just say that in Kenya, we are people of 43 tribes. We have, and these tribes have their own languages. So you find that Kiswahili, when you speak Kiswahili itself has been affected by these languages. You find that in one region, people don't speak the same way as in another region. So this was a prime opportunity for us to make sure that all these the pronunciations are included, or they're very well included in the Kiswahili voice, in the Kiswahili contribution. So we also created a WhatsApp group because people are very interested to be aware of when the sessions are going to be. People are also interested in contributing towards meeting the daily goals. So we just meet or even encourage ourselves to contribute to the voice to make sure that at least we can meet the daily goals. But I can say that that was a bit challenging because, you know, when you don't have a meeting and you just contribute, you can contribute like a group of 5 sentences and become lazy a bit and go and do your other things. But when we meet physically and or virtually, it kept us accountable so that you can be able to contribute as many sentences and as many voice and validating as much as possible. And also to reach this community, was able to just do our best to maintain that good relationship with them so that whenever they have any questions in terms of contributing, we are very quick to answer, to ask the Mozilla fellow in Kenya, that is Brighton, was very quick to answer the questions that we have on a personal level. But I'm also happy that he created a community of Kiswahili champions in Kenya and Tanzania as well, so that we can share their challenges in case someone has a meeting. Like personally, I really got a lot of support when I shared that I have a virtual meeting. Guys, come and join. You'll find that our fellow community champions are able to join and they're able to give you insights. We challenge each other, sharing screenshots there on how far we have reached. We're able to see people even meeting on Sundays, my fellow community champions working super hard to even meet on Sundays to make sure that they contribute contribute sentences and voice, and validate sentences and voice. So I can say that also we were able to share the voice, Common Voice Grant Challenge. And us Pwani Techno Girls, being a technology company, or a technology organization, not a company, yeah, we are a technology organization. We were able to find that these youth and the women, especially the women, because we entirely, like the large percentage of the community we reach out to are women. So you find that they were super interested in creating these projects and utilizing the voice to make sure that they can build at least a project in agriculture. So I'm super excited that that is something that we are going to work on now. But at the moment, we are still working on contributing voice and sentences, as well as validating them and utilizing the opportunities that we have been given to make sure that the voices that we contribute are inclusive, because Pwani Techno Girls, we focus on women first. So thank you very much. I'll hand it over back to Hilary.
Cool. In fact, we're going to hand over to Rebecca. Rebecca, do you want me to share? You want to share your screen? I'll stop sharing mine.
Sure. I think I'll share mine.
Cool.
And don't have access to share.
Oh, if you send me the link, I do have co-host. Well, I can just make you a co-host. I should be able to. I can't. I know. Could you send me a link of your slides, and then I can share it on it?
I think I've added you.
Cool. Give me 1 second.
Can you see it?
Did you do it via Gmail? Sorry, because I have to.
Okay, I'll send you the link also.
Cool, thank you. Give me 1 second. I don't have access to your slides. I'm going to request access. Could you accept it, please? Or change the sharing settings on your presentation, if that's okay.
Okay. Just a second. I think you should be able to now.
Cool. Oh, you were now a co-host, so you should be able to do it. As in, you should be able to show
Should we share?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Amina.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I hope you can all see my screen now.
Yeah.
So just to catch up from where Joanne left, we have been talking about gender as one of the main key challenges when it comes to voice technology, especially representation of different genders, to ensure that they're being part of the process of building voice technology. Through this process, we're able to identify some of the challenges that exist in voice technology when it comes to gender. So some of the challenges is that, one, speech recognition is more accurate for men than it is for women. And another one is that, which is linked actually to the first, is that there are less female voice data sets. And if there are less voice data sets from the female population, then speech recognition will not be accurate for women, because we know that artificial intelligence, as is voice technology, relies on having as much diverse data set as possible. So if there's only a data set representing one gender, then the other gender won't be able to be identified by the machine. So that's another challenge when it comes to voice technology and gender, is that there are less data sets that come from the female population than it is for the male population. Hence, we find that speech recognition is more accurate for men than it is for women. And then we also have access and affordability gaps when it comes to gender. So we have most access issues, especially within sub-Saharan Africa. We have more men who have access to devices for technology, access to the internet, and we have lesser women who have access to these things. But then there's also the issue of affordability. When we look at the prices of internet connectivity within the different countries in sub-Saharan Africa, you find that in most houses, men are the breadwinners and they're the ones who have access to the devices, but they're also the people who can afford to pay for this access. So because of these challenges of access and affordability, we have lesser women who can participate in voice technology because it also relies on having access to connectivity. Then we also have a lack of open data relating to gender and diversity in voice products and teams. So if you look at most of the big technology companies that work around voice technology, they do not often share with transparency the data set of their team. For example, sharing that in their team of developers, how many are the female, how many are male. They do not share information around the data that they share, that they use to model or to create their products. How diverse are they in terms of gender? But there's also an issue around digital literacy, which poses as a challenge when it comes to voice technology, where we know that we have people who do not have the right digital skills to be able to use voice-enabled products. So we find that there's gaps in terms of just being able to navigate and use a digital product, such as, let's say, using Siri or using Google Assistant. It also needs some kind of digital skills that not everyone has. As a result of that, because we have a lot of women that do not have digital literacy, we find that they're left behind and they're not able to meaningfully participate in the voice technology ecosystem, either as consumers or producers of the products. But then we have a trust issue. This is something that is causing a lot of trouble, especially if we look at the issues around privacy and data protection, where you find that especially for the Common Voice platform, you go to some groups and you say, I would like for you to contribute to this platform because it will be useful for you. And then someone wonders, why are you taking all these voices too? If I contribute my voice, how safe is my data? How will I ensure that I'm kept safe? And then they also think around the issue around their privacy. Will they be anonymous? So all these issues hinder women to participate. So in some communities, you find that trust issues, they're more with women than it is with men. So these are some of the challenges that hinder, but we also look at the perspective that gender matters in voice technology. So we look at it from two perspectives, a social case and an economic case. From a social case, gender inclusion helps to avoid a succession of tech biases that replicate harmful practices and existing inequalities. We already know that offline, there are biases that exist in terms of gender and access to different opportunities. Even online now, we have those gender gaps as well. We should not replicate them when it comes to voice technology. So the social case for that is if we can use these technologies, they can actually be used as part of the solution to mitigate these harmful practices that are existing on the different platforms. And then there's economic case to it that we lose value that is added by diversity if we do not include all genders in the process. But there's also a challenge of the market that we're addressing. So for developers, when they're looking at creating a voice technology solution and they think of a solution that only works for women, then they're isolating a whole market of people who could use their product in a way of choosing a specific gender. So that's some of the reasons why we think gender matters in voice technology. So how are we making sure that we're being gender inclusive, especially in the Common Voice project? The first part of it is by having a gender action plan. This gender action plan guides how we foster inclusion across the gender spectrum. It describes how we look at gender, how we look at sex, how we describe how someone can interpret themselves on the platform. So the platform of Common Voice allows a person to self-describe their gender, which is very helpful to allow a person to be able to feel free to share which kind of gender they come from. But apart from that, the gender action plan also has a set of actions that help us to plan. If we're doing an outreach, how are we making sure that we are achieving gender parity? It's the same when it comes to the work that Joanne has talked about of the community champions, having in that balance in terms of the community champions, having female representation, having male representation. But we also look at curating gender balance in community building and engagement across. So this has to be across location. That means being able to reach to people in rural areas, in urban areas, accents, which I'll talk about shortly, age, different ages, older people, middle age, younger people, looking beyond income, having people that maybe have low income, people with middle income and people with higher income, but also looking at the education background of a person, people who are literate and those who are not literate. It's part of the way to make sure that voice technology can be inclusive. But we're also addressing gender concerns through our participatory guidelines for any kind of activity that we do, whether online or virtually, ensuring that women and any kind of groups of people, they feel safe to be part of that community. And these are publicly shared. Another thing is aggregation and labeling of data. So if you visit the Common Voice platform, you're able to download the data set. It will show you the representation in terms of gender. It will tell you this is the percentage of contributors from this gender, and this is the percentage of contributors from this gender. This helps also the developers who will then work with the data set to know that this kind of product I'm building is working or running on data set that is inclusive of different genders. Another thing is carrying out an participatory approach that is from the very beginning, from the process of data collection, where you see we have community champions that are embedded within these communities that are from different genders and are representing the communities they come from, even when they're doing the outreach. This also goes when it comes to use case development. We recently had a use case grant call that came out and different people applied for it so that they can build solutions for voice technology. That process is also inclusive in terms of carrying out surveys, talking with the communities, finding out what do they think is the kind of voice technology solution that will work for them, instead of just throwing a certain technology to them and saying this is something that you need without listening to them first. But then there's the whole process of model creation, the technical part to it that also involves working with different aspects of the community, different stakeholders, to be able to make sure that the products are inclusive and the data set is inclusive. This is all the way up to the application processes. So gender is very key when it comes to voice technology, just making sure that we have a representation of all genders. And this is the same case to any kind of artificial intelligence project. To ensure that there is parity, to ensure that there's inclusiveness, then gender must play a key role in part of it. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the collaboration that we have had with linguists and language experts and what that has helped us with. You may wonder why we need language experts in this kind of project. Part of the process of why we need them is because they play a critical role in helping to share how we can be able to represent the different languages in their accents and variants that are spoken in different places. For example, we know that Kiswahili is spoken across several countries. The Kiswahili spoken in Tanzania might differ from Kiswahili spoken in Kenya, might differ from Kiswahili spoken in DRC or Kiswahili spoken in the Comoros. But also within these localities themselves, there's a difference in Kiswahili. So you have people who speak coastal Kiswahili, you have people who speak standard Kiswahili. So there's all these variants in Kiswahili. And from all these variants, if you do not represent them, then there's a certain community that you risk isolating during the process of creating the data set, as well as being able to model or create a product out of the data set. So some example of some of the challenges that exist is example from the Western world, highlighting gender and age as two the same issues face those who try to collect data sets for low resource languages of the global south, especially sub-Saharan Africa, where their varying local contexts present additional nuances and potential for biases that is based on accents, how people speak, the dialects, the variants of the different languages. So that's why we need linguists to make sure that voice technology sounds like us. So there are some social linguistics learning that we got from the group, from the work that we did with linguists. We worked with linguists from the Democratic Republic of Congo, from Tanzania, and from Kenya. Some of the things that we learned is that there's a history of and the problems in standardizing Kiswahili. So something that came up from these discussions is that the standardization of Kiswahili was mostly done by missionaries, and these communities which speak Kiswahili were not very much involved in the process. So the non-involvement of the local people led to only a handful of people deciding which kind of Kiswahili will become the standard Kiswahili that we now speak across the different countries. So most of that work was done by missionaries, and they identified a variant which is known as Kinguja to become the standard Kiswahili. However, there are different variants of Kiswahili that exist, and all of that was left behind in this process. So there's a drift of the standardized Kiswahili from the dialect it was based mostly on. So this led to something which we call the linguistic insecurity and the massacre of the Kiswahili dialects. So there are some dialects that are now becoming extinct, or they're quickly disappearing because people do not speak them much. Now what is used even in schools and in communities to talk is just the standardized Kiswahili. So the impact of our work is we have on the impact that this contribution of the linguist has had on our work is first identification of dominant dialects or variants of the language. So if you now go and visit the Common Voice platform, you'll be able to self-identify what is the dialect you're speaking or the variant of your language. So you'll find several listed there, but you're also allowed to self-identify. So you can say, I speak maybe Kiswahili from the southern part of DRC, or I speak Unguja, or I speak Mvita, or I speak the standardized Kiswahili. That way we'll be able to know which kind of Kiswahili you speak. But there's also the creation of evaluation and fine-tuning sets for these languages that will help us track how well downstream speech technology models perform for these groups of people. So even if much of our data will probably run on standardized Kiswahili because that's what is plenty spoken across the different countries, we can then be able to use the data sets from these dialects to evaluate if our models will be able to listen to Kiswahili that maybe originates from a Kimvita dialect or a different kind of dialect. So that's the impact that this brings to the project. So I'll stop sharing now and welcome my colleague Brighton to take you through the next part of how you can build a data set for underrepresented languages. Thank you. Welcome, Brighton.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I need to share my screen. Awesome. So before I do share the screen, I'll send a link to the Common Voice platform in the chat. Please, you can join me as I go through it, or you can just follow by the screen share. Awesome. So this is the Common Voice platform. But the default language you get is English, but you are able to change the language. The top right, you can get a localized version of the language you're interested in. So for example, I can get the Kiswahili one. So once I select that, the site is localized to Kiswahili. So you can see Skiliza is listen in English, and Ongea is speak. So for the sake of this presentation, because we're a diverse set of audience, so I'll use the English version. You can also get the Kinyarwanda. Yeah, you can get the Kinyarwanda language. So that's their site. So folks in Rwanda are able to contribute. So I'll go back to the English version. So there are two things you can do immediately when you land on the platform. The ways you can contribute is through speaking. Another way is through listening. So speaking is you donating your voice to the platform, and listening is you validating already donated or contributed voices. So once you tap on this microphone, you're taken to an interface that allows you to be able to read a sentence, then record yourself reading that sentence. So if you're using the Swahili language, this sentence, as you'll find a sentence that is in Kiswahili. So a few things you can see here. There is a microphone at the bottom. Then on the right, you have numbered. These are the voice clips that you recorded. So the most important thing is just clicking the record button and being able to record yourself reading the sentence. So for example, this sentence says, he was cared for by his wife during his final years alive. So what I'll do is I'll hit that record button and record myself reading it. He was cared for by his wife during his final years alive. I'll stop. So once I stop, you see my recording is listed on the right side. If you're on a mobile phone, you'll only be able to see this list at the end of the final recording. That's number 5. So I'll go to the next one. It was produced by Dave Hammer, Lime Cordial. Right. So if you might find a case where pronouncing a word might be difficult, so the best thing usually to skip and get an easier sentence. So I'll just take this sentence. So a small town called Newport Landing was built near the wharf. A small town called Newport Landing was built near the wharf. So to be listed there, I get another sentence. But that's where the comparison ends. But that's where the comparison ends. I get another sentence. In this regard, he opines that technology is an enabler of social development. So I'll skip that. Then Aggie and Taylor then combined, but Stewart once again denied the chance. Aggie and Taylor then combined, but Stewart once again denied the chance. So then I get another sentence. So this is the last one. So you usually get batches of 5. Are you able to contribute your voice in batches of 5? So I record this. So the two countries share commitment to individual freedom, human rights, and democracy. Awesome. So once I have those recordings, so they'll be listed on the right. If you are on mobile, you'll be able to see this as the interface right now. So you have a number of buttons here. One is to record, to play your recording. So once you hover on this button, that you see there's like a tooltip that is in a black background that has that sentence that you recorded. So once you hit this play button, you'll hear your voice, you'll hear yourself recording that sentence. So you just confirm that you read each and every word in that sentence. Cared for by his wife during his final years alive. So go to the next one. A small town called Newport Landing was built near the wharf. But that's where the comparison ends. Go to the next one. Aggie and Taylor then combined, but Stewart once again denied the chance. The two countries share commitment to individual freedom, human rights, and democracy. Yeah. So on the first sentence, cared for by his wife during his final years alive. So the first sentence, I noticed that it starts from cared for. So what I'll do is there is this button that allows you to record yourself reading that sentence. So when I hit that, I get back the sentence here in the middle, then I'm able to read it again. He was cared for by his wife during his final years alive. Right, so then I'll just read that. He was cared for by his wife during his final years alive. Yeah, so now I've confirmed that I've read each and every sentence well, ensuring that I've read each word in that sentence. So what I'll do is I'll hit submit button. The submit button allows me to be able to upload the clips that I've recorded. Right. So once that upload is complete, you'll see a message that tells you how much your contribution has, how much you've contributed to the daily target. So usually there's a daily recording goal of 1,200 voice clips. And you can see that my contribution has contributed to that 33% of that target. Right. So once you're done, you're able to read 5 more. You can do 5 more. You can create goals. That is setting targets, daily targets for yourself that you can be able to meet. So apart from just speaking or recording, the other thing is you can listen. So listening allows you to be able to validate already recorded sentences. There are a number of the criteria to which to follow when validating a voice clip. The most important one being you being able to hear each and every word in that sentence. So the word might be pronounced differently because we all speak differently. But then the key thing is that the word has been mentioned, has been pronounced. Then the other thing is ensure that there might be cases where there is background noise. So we not all of us are able to be in places where it's very quiet. So you can take consideration where there is background noise, but then you have to ensure that in that clip you can hear each and every word in that sentence. So for this case, what you can do is if everything is okay, you just hit yes. If there's something wrong, maybe a word was skipped or the background noise is too much, you can't make out what is being said, you give it a thumbs down. So I'll just play this. Awesome. So it looks like this recording is empty. So nothing was recorded. So I'll just give a thumbs down.
This led to the introduction of the holographic principle by him and Leonard Susskind.
Yeah. So here, in this case, the person has read each and every word, so I can just play it again.
This led to the introduction of the holographic principle by him and Leonard Susskind.
Yeah. So you can, you see as the person has been able to mention each and every word. So I'll do is I'll give a thumbs up. Then I get another one.
The waters of Bass Strait from the southern boundaries.
Awesome. That's another one.
Current State with a sub-spot high school.
So you might notice the pronunciation is different, but the word has been pronounced.
Also, particularly amongst strong players, an increased use of English opening for white.
Awesome. So that's great. So if there is a sentence you're not sure about, you can always hit the skip button. So I'll give it a yes. So then again, I'm told how much my contribution has contributed to the daily validation goal. Awesome. So those are the two things you can do quickly once you're on the profile or on the platform. So the other important thing, but that is not compulsory, is you can create a profile for yourself. So I'll log out here. So you can always sign up, log in and sign up to create a profile. But then this is not important. But then it also goes into helping us understand how diverse the data set is, how diverse the people, the folks who are contributing to the community, to the language. So the other important thing is a data set. Rebecca has mentioned the importance of having a diverse data set. So we usually release the voice clips. So like, for example, for the Kiswahili language, so you look for Swahili. So you go to look for Swahili. We did a release in January. So you can see you have access to 13 GB of MP3 files. You can see there is 146 validated hours. Overall hours is 655. The format is MP3. And then you can see the demographic data. So you can see we have 41% male, 34% female. So you're able to get this data sets easily. Just provide your email address. So for example, I do that, then tick that you're prepared to download 13 GB of data. Then you agree to not attempt to determine the identity of speakers in the common voice data set. So once you do that and hit OK, you'll get a zipped, I believe it's a zipped file that then you're able to download and use to train your machine learning algorithm. So I'll just cancel that. Awesome. So the other way you can contribute is towards building the sentence corpus. And I see there is a question around sentences. Yep, and Hilary has been able to respond to that. Yeah. So on the platform, you're able to contribute sentences. So these are sentences that are within the public domain. So this is Creative Commons 0 license. So you're able to review and contribute sentences. So we usually encourage folks to contribute sentences that they use on a daily basis. So for example, if we hit review, so I see that this is a sentence in Kiswahili. What you can do is you can reject or approve a sentence. So these are sentences that are contributed by community, the Kiswahili language community. So for me, that's the only language I have there. So what you do is there is a criteria. We usually say most important thing is does not use abusive language. There is the criteria. Does not spellings is correctly, grammatical correct, must be speakable. So we encourage sentences that can be spoken. And then the sentences do not meet. If they do not meet that criteria, you need to reject. If they do, you can approve. Then the other is the sentences must not be either abusive or target a certain group of people. So you get as interface that is kind of similar to how one is able to do voice and validations. So the other part is adding of sentences. So We have a sentence collector. The sentence collector allows you to be able to contribute sentences. So that's one line per sentence, 16 words. The sentences have to be in the public domain, so you can attribute maybe yourself. So for example, let's say, so this is Kiswahili. So I say leo ni Jumatano. So Jumatano saying, in translating to today is Wednesday in English. So then I'll attribute that sentence to myself. Brighton, and then I say confirm that this sentence is the public domain, then I'll submit. So I'm submitting one sentence, then I'll hit confirm. Yeah, so that's how you add sentences. So you can add one sentence per line. So once you're done with one line, just hit enter, then you go to the next line, and then you're able to contribute sentences. There is a terms of service for using the Commonwealth platform. Most important folks who are using or contributing to the Commonwealth platform have to be above the age of 19. Then you have to adhere or agree to the Mozilla community participatory guidelines that are what govern the Common Voice community. So you can create an account. The other most important thing is that the data you provide is never made available in the dataset. So it means if someone is able to download that voice dataset, they're not able to track any voice clipping back to you. So that's something that has been taken into consideration in terms of privacy of everyone who is contributing. Awesome. So the other thing maybe I would like to mention is we're doing Kiswahili writing competition. So there is a competition we have partnered with an initiative called Hekaya Arts Initiative. So this is community of folks who are very interested in the Swahili language, culture, and the people in the coast region. So we are running a Kiswahili writing competition with prizes. And the main goal for this competition is to be able to grow the Kiswahili voice dataset, that is the sentences that we're able to get from there. So there are a number of themes, there's music, language, culture, and heritage. There is a guideline about submit for submissions, and then you're able to just send the submissions to the editor at Hekaya. Awesome. I would like to end there. Thank you very much. So I'll pass it on to Hillary. Where is it, Rebecca?
Yes, thank you, Brighton. I think people also get a chance to go through the platform and possibly be able to see if they can be able to access it or validate some clips. I don't know if everyone is able to access the link. Brighton, maybe you can share with them so that they can be able to decide. And we'll give at least a few minutes for participants to be able to go through the platform, see if they can be able to navigate it, and if they have any questions, ask, and then we'll proceed to the next session. Brighton will be sharing the link on the chat.
Is it all right if we could also mention some of the African languages that are on there? So I've also added the link to the languages page onto the chat. So currently, in terms of languages that are launched that are African, are Igbo, Kinyarwanda, Basa, Kiswahili, Kabyle. So there's a few African languages on there, but definitely if you're interested in like having your language on there and it's not currently, please feel free to like message me. And also there is a PhD fellowship for helping localize some of the South African languages. So I'm happy to share that as well. I'll share a link to it so you can see in the chat.
Thank you. I see there's a question on the Q&A that says, please, do you video version of what you presented, it will help us for better comprehension. I think the DRIF team is doing a recording, so that will be made available. Hopefully you can be able to access that for further comprehension. But also a few things that I wanted to just point out that might be of use. Someone might ask themselves why their language is not included yet. So I just wanted to note that the Common Voice is purely community driven. So if you want to add your language or you need your language to be part of the process, if you visit the Common Voice platform on the FAQ section, you'll be able to get a question that speaks around that, and it will show you what you can do. So there are several steps that you have to follow to be able to add a new language. The first is beginning collecting voice donation. But first of all, the Common Voice websites need to be localized or translated into that local language, because people need to be able to comprehend how the website works in their local language. Then after that is possible, then we need a large collection of copyright-free sentences for people to read out loud. So when both of these requirements are satisfied, a language is then launched on the Common Voice for people to start recording their voices and validating other donations. So if you want to help a new language, you can be able to go to the sentence collection tool that Brighton talked about. I think if you can share the link as well, and be able to follow that process to be able to add a new language, or reach out to any of the members that were on the call today, that they can assist you in the process of adding another language. But something else that I thought might be of interest, there was a question about where the text is coming from, and Hilary answered that, but I also wanted to add out that the source text is made up of original contributor donations, as well as direct from public domain scripts. So you can view the source sentences on a GitHub folder, and you can also be able to contribute your sentences along with that. So we need as many sentences as possible so that we can have many sentences for people to read. And once we have many clips as well, then we need people to also validate them for them to be past that we have the kind of data set that can be used now from there on. So there are many avenues for you to contribute to the platform. So I think now we'll open up to questions. If you have any questions, you can put them on the chat, or you can unmute and ask, and then we'll proceed. Yes, yes, Idris. I think Idris is raising his hand. You can ask.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. And I really, really love this lecture because I'm a local person and I love anything that has to do with localization of our own context, especially Africa. And I think last year I came across with something like this, especially on Swahili. I don't know whether the different competition Mozilla is organizing on the local languages, whether there is chance or you have any influence to include our own local languages in Nigeria. We have like Hausa, we have like Yoruba, you have like Igbo, and this will help also even in the way we want to promote issue of digital inclusion by different marginalized groups. So I think if there is such opportunity, you can share it with us so that we will share with our various network or through Paradigm Initiative. Once you see that opportunity, you can share with them because we are all connected. We have a platform where we can use the opportunity to share with different networks and organization working with them in digital inclusion and digital rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Idris, for your question. And to answer, I'll give a quick story and then also explain how you could possibly help with localizing some of the indigenous Nigerian languages. So I put into the chat a website link to the Igwe BK community, which was set up by some contributors, including Chris, to like include Igbo into Common Voice. And I will also put in a link to the YouTube video of the session that they had for their community to like, oh, put the wrong link, give me 1 second. And as you probably know, if you speak Igbo, Igbo BK means unity is strength. So basically, they've recently launched. Sorry, they started playing, so I had to mute myself quickly. They recently launched the community onto Common Voice, and like part of the ways in which they're able to do that is because firstly, like they've created a really good strategy for localizing the platform. So you don't have to localize the platform fully, it just has to be around 75%. And plus we use this tool called Pontoon, and like Pontoon is basically allows you to see like the different script words from the platform. And for some languages where machine translation is available, you can just automatically accept it, but it's not necessarily always the case. With that being said, we are working that like people don't have to have, people can contribute to different languages regardless of the localization level. But one of the most important thing is the sentence collection. So part of the reason why like Igbo launched so quickly from the period of being asked to be joined to the platform was because they made like a really good collaboration with Igbo Radio. So they contributed like a lot of sentences to the text corpus. And then that helped with building like the text corpus for that. So for some of the languages, you only need 750 sentences to be added onto it. So what I can do, Idris, I'll put into the chat my email, and for anyone else that is interested, and you can reach out to request the language. And I need a bit of information about the languages themselves, because as someone that doesn't speak like a lot of African languages, there's a lot of community like value from having those conversations with you, like one-to-one or in groups. So like there's a few questions regarding like plural forms, for example, and like also I'm trying to think of other aspects as well. So yeah, I will add that to I'll add my email to the chat so you can follow up with me. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, you answered my question. Thank you very much once again. I even see the email now, whipping.
Cool. And also, just as I was about to explain, I'll also put in the email, but I'll say it in the video as well. Because like community building like requires especially as volunteers, like it does require a lot of energy and like resource. So some of the things that we're doing as part of the enablement sessions is highlighting the funding that's available to support like any initiative. So for example, for any Mozilla initiative, there's this thing called the Mozilla Resource Reps, which basically helps to like fund and support community events. So like anyone can use that. There are also community members that have made partnerships with like their local government to like fund stuff. So I'm thinking in particular the Frisian community. Frisian is spoken in the Netherlands, and they did like a collaboration with the Frisian government, for example. Adebumi, I noticed you've got your hands raised. I'd love to hear your question as well.
Okay, it's more of an appreciation than a question. You know, since the beginning of the discussion, I took my time to listen. I've been to the site. I've tried to locate certain things. I noticed while some languages are already launched, some are ongoing. Unfortunately, Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa is included. I think it's a very great idea. 2 years ago, I presume, there was this Mozilla project platform that I encouraged my team and some other people to be involved in. And this is actually going to help us also in the internet industry. When we're talking about internet domain names, language, so this would help some other algorithm somehow, somewhere. It will also help us bridge the gap of ensuring that we don't lose any language before it goes extinct. So I must commend the team, and I look forward to collaboration. I'm trying to get out of the academics and see what I can do. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. You're welcome. I'm going to hand over to Rebecca because we're going to wrap up.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, John. Thank you, Brighton. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the session. As we wrap up, if you need to learn more about the project or you'd like to get involved, we have shared some emails, but you can also visit the Common Voice platform, the website itself, and you can be able to sign up for a newsletter with your email, and then you'll be getting updates of what we're working on and how you can participate in the process. We'll look forward to collaboration. As we said, it's an open source project, so it's community driven. Contributions are welcome and support from anywhere so that we can make sure that underrepresented languages, especially those that are spoken across Africa, can be represented in voice technology. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you have the rest wonderful time during DRIF and the different sessions that are there to be able to learn and contribute towards Africa that is respecting digital rights and is inclusive digitally. Thank you very much, and bye-bye everyone.
Bye.
Asante sana.
Hi, thank you very much, Rebecca, Hilary, Brighton, Joanne. That was a very interesting session, an eye-opener, in fact. Thank you very much. We take language for granted, but it's our identity. It's what makes us us. It's what makes us stand out. And Africa is very rich with different multiple languages. We should be proud of our languages. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, our participants. It's been a long day and it was a wrap. It's a wrap, day 2 of DRIF virtual sessions. See you tomorrow for day 3 and the final virtual session. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Hilary, see ya.